Welcome into a brand new Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Valspar Championship. I'm Rick Gaiman, that right there, Joe Idoni. Joe, one more event and we can get out of the Sunshine State where you reside, my friend.
One more event, baby. It's the final leg. A little bit of a different style course, I will say, this week. But, Rick, on a week where the banks are getting crushed, the ball's getting rolled back, I'm just happy to be here on Wednesday night for Power Hour, where the portfolios hopefully only go up.
That's right. Yes. My portfolio in real life getting crushed this week, but don't worry about that because Jordan Spieth's a lifetime 11% ROI type of guy. We'll talk about him and we'll talk about a lot more, but we're playing stock market DFS, Joe. This is our opportunity to bid on shares of golfers for the Valspar Championship. And then with the guaranteed payouts per position, that's how we determine the end value. And obviously, if you buy a share of a golfer for lower than the end value, you have made money. That's the simplified version of it, Joe. It gets much more complex as you'd want it to be with shorting and with in-game trading. There's a lot to take in if you want to take it on.
That's a good way to put it. There's a very simplistic way to play it, which is hop in the IPO hour from now until 9 p.m., buy the shares you want, hold, right? A lot of people make a good bit of money playing it that way. The other way to play it is to sort of go all in terms of shorting, early bidding, live tournament in play, both buying and selling shares. So multiple avenues for different types of users. And last week, of course, as I believe we predicted correctly on this show, you had him on the outright as well. Scotty Scheffler got himself that $25 payout per share in the jock market with a hell of a week last week for Scotty.
Yeah, here's last week. If you want some concrete examples, Scotty went for $9.80 per share last Wednesday, got the full payout, $25 a share. So that is $15.20 per share of profit. Terrell Hatton comes up short in the tournament, but makes you big bucks in the jock market. $6.99 last Wednesday, got the $20 per share payout. That's $13.01. Victor Hovland, $7.41 to $18. Tom Hoge, $4.58 to $16. Hideki, $4.93 to $15. So it is not just that top position. It is not just the outright market that we're talking about. It's just an opportunity, Joe, to get guys that you think are going to outperform. Now, we're going to weaken the field a little bit this week, and it's going to give us a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. It's about a spectrum, right? So each player has that break-even point that you mentioned. And the beauty of it is you can kind of incrementally work your way up. For instance, I did well last week. I think I finished 10th overall in the entire contest. I had 10 guys in my holdings. Not a single one of them finished inside the top 5 of this tournament. Was still able to turn like a pretty much a 125% ROI on the week. It was a big week for me. I had Homa, I had a bunch of guys right there in that like 5th through 35th place points. And each of them basically outperformed their expectation and returned me a profit on the majority of those players. So had one of them won, of course, I would have had the spike week. But the fact that none of them really sniffed contention or even a top 5, and I was still able to finish inside the top 10 of all users is, I think, a cool sign and a unique aspect of the game that we're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're trying to get involved for the first time, we have a promo code. It's POWER. There's a link in the description. It'll get you your $100 deposit bonus. The props aspect of this has also been added. So you can play stock market DFS or you can play the prop pick'em games. Jock Market is cornering the market in all of the fantasy games. And Joe, kind of turning our attention to this week a little bit. Valspar, you said this is going to be a little different from the other Florida events. What did you mean by that?
So I think the setup of the course, it's actually, if you didn't know it was in Florida, it doesn't really look like some of those other courses. It feels Midwesty to me in terms of sort of a Parkland style golf course that is tree lined, heavily dog legged. The rough this week is apparently grown up a little bit. And we finally, Rick, it's been like a month, I swear to God, before I've seen a drop of rain in Florida. It's poured this week. I've had thunderstorms rolling in. I'm on the other coast, but I know that they're feeling it there as well with the weather forecast. So I think a couple things, right? We get a ton of rain. That rough that they grew from 3 inches to 4 inches only becomes more of an issue, more thick. We could get, of course, what we love is a little bit of preferred lies action maybe, which makes hitting the fairways even more important. But I just think that it's more of a classical design golf course where there isn't such a penalty. Right? We kind of honed in on this last week where a 2-yard miss could be the difference between birdie and double bogey. That's not so much what we see at the Copperhead course, which I think makes it a bit unique and probably more of a true test on a player's form and ability.
I love that. Okay, well, let's play bullish or bearish. This is an opportunity for Joe and I to take a couple of stands on golfers, and we've picked out quite the crew for tonight. Let's just start with the two-time defending champion, Sam Burns. He is currently checking in at a fair value of $7.99. That fair value, if you're new, is a calculation based on each golfer's outright number, top 5 number, top 10 number, etc. Basically, their expected value to say what's a fair price on them. That fair price on Sam Burns tonight is $7.99. So that break-even point for Sam Burns then is 18th place at that price. That would be him finishing 18th or better, $8 per share for Sam Burns. So, Joe, I ask you, with all that information, are you bullish or bearish on Sam Burns?
Okay, so this is kind of a tricky answer. I'm bearish in general on Sam Burns right now. No one has lost more strokes on approach in the top 50 guys on your odds board over the last 36 rounds than Sam Burns. The iron play is not there. I've heard from some stories on multiple swing coaches and people who are kind of sort of relatively close to his camp that are saying he's kind of working out the kinks on some different things. The numbers have been sort of a bloodbath in jock market. That all said, I don't think anybody's going to play him in DFS formats. I don't think really I've seen anybody betting Sam Burns this week, which usually, since those prices are sort of fixed, and this is not a fixed price, this is all based on the perception and how many people like him and the popularity of this player. I think we could get him on a good price tonight. That said, on the price point that we're using for the fair value projection tonight of 18th or better, I will say bearish. How about you?
Yeah, I'm bearish. I think you pointed out all the notable things. I'll just point out one more. You know, the times before he won this event, when he won this event last year, he was playing much better. He had a T9 at the API, a T26 at the Players. His ball striking was there. Before his win the year before that, he had a 4th place finish at the Zurich, and he had made the cut, and his ball striking was just generally better before that. When he won in Jackson, his play was just much better. It's just like he's going to have to do something completely different than what he has done in the past, which is enter an event, not play well, and if he wins it, like that would be a different blueprint. So all of that taken into consideration, an $8 fair value, I will be bearish on Sam Burns for this evening. Next up, let's stay at the top of the board, and let's go to Jordan Spieth. So the top of the board is interesting this week. I'll actually show you something about the top of the board. Let me see if I can find this real quick. This is the last 10. Okay, I've got this sort of by average IPO. This is the last 10 markets for these guys. All of them are losers.
Wow.
JT's a loser. Fitzpatrick is a loser. Spieth's a loser. Sam Burns is a loser. Okay, the 4 what we perceive to be the most expensive golfers. You go back 20 events. JT's a small loser. Spieth is a small loser. Burns is a small loser. Fitzpatrick's a little bit of a winner. So that just throwing that out there. What we have tonight for Spieth is a fair value of $9.37, which is going to ask him to finish about 13th or better. Are you bullish or bearish on Spieth?
I'll say bearish as well. This is a weird one where I kind of like him in terms of like his chances, I think, to win. You and I were actually texting sort of earlier this week about how the landscape of betting favorites we have to totally reevaluate our strategy from what we're seeing lately. This is a riskier one to me. So asking him to finish top 12, I think that there is a range of outcomes for Spieth that's wider than most of the players that you're going to get coming into an event at 12-1, like we saw Scotty or Rory or John Rahm. He's not that guy. There is a big range of outcomes. That said, I do love the fact that his iron play has really been fantastic over the last month or so. He's had 2 top 6 finishes. I think things are trending in the absolute right direction. And I think he's worthy of being the highest priced guy on the board tonight, but I will be bearish if he gets to that point. How about you, Mr. Gaiman?
I am in on Jordan Spieth. I'm okay, especially compared for other guys at the top of the board. But I think there's a path for him. You mentioned the fact that the approach plays coming around. You love to see that. The putter maybe finding a little bit of a level. The short game always there. He's been driving it okay. I think that there are at least some thin comparisons to Harbortown, which is a positional golf course off the tee. Valspar will at sometimes, and Innisbrook, the Copperhead course, will turn into a positional golf course off the tee at times. I am more bullish on Jordan Spieth here than I have been as of late. So that puts me on the bullish side of things.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we can go with, how about this one? Adam Hadwin. Adam Hadwin catching some steam this week. He's our 8th pre-ranked golfer. That's important because the pre-rank breaks ties. His fair value for tonight, 806. So very, very similar to Sam Burns. 18th or better for Adam Hadwin. Where do you stand?
I'm bullish on Hadwin. I love the way his incoming form looks. He was absolutely phenomenal last week in the ball striking categories there. I see you have it up there at the Players' Championship. This is a course where I had him actually picked to win back a few years ago when he was able to outlast Patrick Cantlay down the stretch. Playing fantastic. This is a course that should set up very well for his skill set. I think that this tier of player that Hadwin is in is going to be where we are going to make the money this week in terms of jock market, in my opinion. So I'll say bullish. How do you feel?
Bullish. Yeah. I mean, this is a guy that has real solid upside, right? I mean, when he gets going, he can strike it really well. When he gets the putter going, he can putt really well. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't concerned that he's lost multiple strokes with the putter in each of his last 3 starts, but that is so far from the DNA of Adam Hadwin. I'm almost just like expecting this bounce back here, and he's won this event. He has played well at this event. Like, yes, I'm in on Adam Hadwin, as I assume most people will be, but that is warranted this evening. I will note he has 2 triple-digit ROIs in his last 4 starts, 107% ROI at the Players, 139 in Phoenix, and then a couple of losses in between Genesis and API. This obviously the weakest field that he'll play in since the American Express. He finished T18 that week.
Sure.
Davis Riley's next. This was your submission. Okay. By the way, this was your submission to this, and I was tickled by it. $6.30 is the fair value for Davis Riley. That is asking him to finish 26th or better. 26th or better for Davis Riley. You bullish or bearish?
Bullish for me.
Wow.
I like the kid. Look, obviously the second place finish here last year was his best career finish. He's actually, we mentioned how Spieth has really been solid with his irons and his approach play. I'm on your site right now in the cheat sheet over the last 36 rounds. Davis Riley's got identical numbers. They're both gaining almost a half a stroke per round on approach. So his iron play has really turned around. A couple of good finishes there in an 8th and a 29th leading in at the API and the Honda Classic. Now he missed the cut at the Sawgrass. So you can always kind of write one of those off. If you play all 4 events in Florida, you're going to miss one of those cuts.
Yeah.
But look, I just think this is a great spot for him. Anytime you get a young player that just needs like a little extra push in terms of like, let me go get it this week and something on my side and working in my favor, coming off a fantastic performance last year in good form, I'll take him. Bullish.
I am bullish, obviously not nearly as bullish as you are. I'm like slightly bullish on this. I loved the play that we saw from him in stretches last year, and it feels like we are kind of getting a little bit of that, right? He's plugging the holes in his game. He's getting back to being more well-rounded, more leaning into his strengths, which is generally the ball striking. I'm not 100% convinced yet, but this is a really good spot for a guy who's contended in golf tournaments, who should be licking his chops at a weaker field like this. And what did I say that his pre-rank was? Like to get it used to be like 26th or better. Yeah, sure. Let's fire up Davis Riley.
Let's go.
All right. That'll conclude our bullish or bearish segment for tonight. If you're looking to get involved, you can get involved a couple ways. So you can play on the stock market side of things. You can play on the prop side of things. Either way, you can get your deposit bonus. It's $100, and there's a link in the description. The code you need there is POWER. Joe, we're getting some new names and faces in the chat. one of the questions I saw earlier was in regards to shorting. Shorting is relatively new in IPO. You used to only be able to do this when we got into the live trading portion of it, but you could do that right now on a Wednesday night if there is a golfer that you are bearish on. And essentially, it is you, I don't want to say betting, but you're investing in the fact that they are not going to do well. You know, these numbers that we're throwing out, these fair values, if you think that Davis Riley is going to finish outside the top 26, you would be, you could short him. And for every position that he goes down below that, you would make more money.
Absolutely. The main difference, I would say, is the amount of money that you have to put in up front in terms of shorting. So if a player was normally $5 per share to buy shares of that player, if you want to short them at $5, you actually need to put up $20 per share because it works on a reverse from the $20 payout. Now, that doesn't make your chances of winning any less because the break even point is still essentially the same either way. So if you don't think he's going to reach that 18th or 19th or better, or whatever it may be, shorting is a good idea. But the one concept you sort of have to understand is you may not be able to get quite as many shares versus if a player was $5 a share and you had $100, you could get 20 shares of that player. In order to short him, you can only get 5 shares of that player. So you just have to kind of allocate and think about things a little bit differently. But it does offer you the avenue to bet on a player's success or bet on a player not playing well, which is, I think, is a really cool aspect of the IPO.
Yeah, let's unveil the big board here because this market is off to a little bit of a sleepy start, but that is not going to last very long. Currently, the most expensive golfer in the market, a man we've spoken about, Adam Hadwin, $6.68 per share, his fair value $8. How about a guy already over his fair value tonight? Ben Griffin, Joe. He has been a winner in, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of his last 9 markets. Ben Griffin is vibing right now, $5.90.
Yo, Ben Griffin is on top of the world. He got the AirPod treatment on the coverage as well, which I was shocked. He made some comments about watching golf earlier in the morning, which we all, of course, love to see. The kid has been awesome, and I think it goes, the expectation level, not only in terms of a market, but in terms of how a player is sort of viewing the opportunity that he gets each and every week is different for every guy. For Ben Griffin, that's very different. This is a guy who was trading stocks and destined for a New York corner office on Wall Street. And all of a sudden he turns into making this sort of PGA Tour run. It comes to fruition for him. And now he's just playing really well. And he's really got nothing to lose. And you can really kind of see that in his mindset that he's enjoying every single aspect of the game right now, from when he shows up to the training tent in the morning to when he leaves the course. So it's really been sort of fun and enjoyable to be along the ride for sort of some of his ascension. And the guy keeps playing well. This is another good course setup for him. He's putting it great. He's extremely proficient around the greens. What do you think? Like, do we keep going back to the well here?
Do you think that Ben Griffin plays Jock Market? He'd probably be pretty good at it.
He'd probably that's a real dude. This would be a natural link for Jock.
Yo,
We need to get the logo on the sleeve.
This would be such a natural investment. Like, how much does it cost? Like, he's sponsored by something called Cap Tech and Lord Abbott. I have never heard of any of those things.
We need to, maybe me and you maybe need to talk to the boys and chip in a little bit. And we need to get Jock Market on. What is Lord Abbott?
Oh, of course it is. Here it is. It is a privately held investment management company headquartered in Jersey City, New Jersey. Of course it is.
Okay, of course it is. You know what's out racing Lord Abbott in terms of return this year? Austin Blasky.
Yeah, that's true. Let's just get Austin Blasky's logo on Ben Griffin. Just do
Jock
that.
Market has been crushing it. So it's just fun to see like the guys who have been able to sort of turn this into like a full-time money earning gig. So there's a ton of them out there. We need to get Ben Griffin on board. You're right. We should really try to get him on the show one week. He could probably talk a lot of bit about shorting and explain it better than either of you or I can.
All right, I'm on it. That's good. I like that a lot. Back to your original question.
Yeah.
I love what he's doing. Right. I think that you're starting to see consistencies. Obviously, everybody has bad weeks, but what are we learning? That in general, he's a great driver of the golf ball. In general, he is slightly above average on approach. In general, he has a great short game. There are going to be weeks in which those statements are not true, but those are the general ideas. And yeah, you put him in this field, and he should be rocking and rolling. So he's already up to 590. When I refresh again, he's probably going to continue to rise. Robbie Shelton 444, Ryan Gerard 428, Victor Perez 412, and then a couple of young guys, Akshay Bhatia and Justin Suh, round us out at $4. Now this is interesting, Joe, and this is also another pretty good lesson. Justin Suh, the 15th ranked golfer. That is important because only 14 guys break ties over him. Akshay hung with the 91st pre-rank. That's kind of a tough scene. That is going to have to probably come into your calculation tonight.
It absolutely made a difference for me last week in a number of situations, the pre-rank. Like I had Max Homa and Sung J M, I think, who both finished in a tie for 6th with a bunch of players. They were the 2 highest pre-ranks, and it made a big difference in terms of the amount you can earn per share. I love Akshay this week. I like Justin Suh this week. Talk to me a little. I lean on you for a little bit of help with some of the European tour guys that come over. What's up with Victor Perez?
Yeah, I mean, someone asked me in my live chat earlier, like, why so much love for Victor Perez? And I was like, well, I mean, it's not like I don't think he's the greatest golfer in the world, but like when I look at this, he is a solid ball striker. I'd actually say he's a great driver of the golf ball. He's well-rounded. He won in Abu Dhabi a couple of starts ago. He's won twice in his last 20 starts. He won the Dutch Open. He's got great upside. This reminds me a lot of what Minwoo Lee's profile was before he came over and started to play a couple of Florida events in a row. I mean, it's been 18 straight European Tour events. This is very reminiscent of that. And it doesn't mean we're all going on the same path for Minwoo or with Victor Perez as we did for Minwoo, but like he's a very solid DP World Tour. He's a very solid professional golfer, and now he's coming to basically one of the weaker fields that we can get on the PGA Tour. I mean, this is very, very reminiscent of the Minwoo stuff.
You're absolutely right. It does sound just like that in a sense. What's the Hero Cup on there?
That is the DP World Tour's President's Cup. So they do continental Europe versus Great Britain and Ireland. So it's like basically like he was on the winning side of the Hero Cup.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I just wanted to put it on there so that like you could see that he played that week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I flipped this around so we can look at the top of the board. The big 4, at least here, JT, Fitzpatrick, Spieth, and Denny in the pre-rank. We are sitting on a buck apiece. Now, this is obviously going to change, Joe, but what does it say that there is some hesitancy coming out of the top of the board here tonight?
I think it says a couple of things. One, we may have honestly a little bit of fatigue from the old Sawgrass last week. 2, we saw so many guys at the top, including Justin Thomas, crash and burn last week. So maybe a little bit less hesitancy, or I'm sorry, a little bit more hesitancy to go up and pay $8-9 per share on a player. That said, this is not sort of completely unfamiliar territory for us. We've seen this before. We know that the late charge is coming. The IPO hour is still in, for another 20 minutes here. If you're new to this and you think you're going to steal Justin Thomas for like $3 or $4 a share, it's not going to happen. So if you want to get those bids in, put in a price right now. I would say that you are comfortable paying no matter what price on Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, whoever that you like the best and want pieces of in your portfolio, even if it's one share now. That way you're able to easily track that, favorite it as it sort of moves up over the last couple of minutes, because it happens very quickly and you want to make sure that you're not left, with nothing.
So of these top 4, you don't have to have just one of these or any of these, but like, where are you investing at the top here? We talked about Spieth a little bit, but like JT concerns, Fitzpatrick concerns. I mean, I think Denny's on your betting card, if I saw that correctly.
Yep. Denny's on my bet. I actually like that. I mentioned the Hadwin range. I like that range. I like Denny. I like Justin Rose this week, actually, because he's just been playing fantastic. I kind of like Wyndham Clark. Those are the type of guys that I currently have favorited that I'm hoping, depending on the price point, you can get maybe $1.50, a $2 break off these guys at the top. And I do think that they hold a good bit of win equity in this event. particularly because they don't have to slay quite as many dragons at the top. Thomas is not playing well. Fitzpatrick's not playing well. If you can get past Spieth and hope that he doesn't win this week, I think this thing could be totally wide open.
Yeah, that's interesting as well, because then you start getting into Justin Rose at the 5th pre-rank. He's got an $8.26 fair value for tonight. Tommy Fleetwood, Mav McNeely, Adam Hadwin, who's catching that steam early. That's kind of the tier where you start to think this thing opens up, right, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you about Brian Harmon. Ooh. Totally out on him?
Yeah, I think so.
I know. I bet him this week kind of early. The more that the week has gone on, I've been a little bit reluctant about it. Actually, a positive week off the tee, which was good to see. I think that he dunked a couple on 17, if I'm getting that correctly, which is probably why you're going to see the strokes gain approach numbers be impacted. But such a good run through the fall there and good course history here. Like, put it in the fairway, especially given that the rough is up. We know how narrow it is. We know that it's not an overly long course, and putt it well. And those are two things that he does pretty consistently. So I'm hoping we can maybe get a decent bounce back week.
It's just, for me, this is, there's so many variables in golf that we don't get to see. If I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, my back is tweaked, I'm going through there's just so much that we don't know. And when you have a stat profile that looks like this based around, the end of this, he was great to the end of the season, 2023 starts, 2 months off, and now he just can't find it. That's concerning. I don't know what happened. I don't know if the swing has changed. I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know anything, but I don't like it when there's a moment in time, a 2-month break, and now all of a sudden he can't find it. That makes me think it's something bigger than just a little bit of variance.
Totally. You nailed it where we know nothing, basically.
We know nothing.
I think about what about with Cam Davis last week? It's oh, we were all so high on him. He hasn't played good in 2 months. And I was very sick. You don't say you were dealing with health issues. If it wasn't pretty serious and it took you 2 months to get over as a young athlete like him, it had to be pretty serious. But then again, 1 week, he's feeling better. It's a bounce back. All of a sudden he performed really well at Sawgrass. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me to see Brian Harmon come out here and finish 6th place.
Yeah, we know nothing. Is basically the tagline of this show. Wyndham Clark at $3.02 right now. He's the 10th pre-ranked golfer, fair value $775. That's 19th place. I'm in on this. Okay. We've kind of been tracking him for some time, and he's got 3 wins in his three positive returns, I should say, in his last 4 starts, and he's been playing solid golf, basically going back to the start of the season. So I'm pretty much in on Wyndham. When you start to look through this 10 to 20 in the pre-rank from Wyndham Clark and KH Lee down to Alex Smalley and Taylor Moore, is there anybody else that jumps out to you here? We've already talked about Davis Riley.
We talked about a couple of them. There's some guys there that frankly don't belong there. Nick Taylor, Webb Simpson, Alex Smalley, Taylor Moore. There's some guys below them that should be above them, like Ben Griffin. What about Gary Woodland is sitting there at the 27th pre-rank? He's 35-1 to win this week. He has really turned it around. When you're looking at any sort of ball striking metrics over the last 24, 36 rounds, he's been really solid. Look at that. 2 of the last 3 events, he's gained over 7 strokes ball striking. He's in Florida. He's played well here before. It's just kind of feels like it's setting up to the strengths of Gary Woodland as a player. And I prefer to go to someone like him, Neesmith, Rogers, Griffin. I think you could make a case for most of those guys in the mid-20s over some of the ones in the late teens, for me at least.
Yeah, I would love for Gary Woodland to gain a half a stroke putting this week. That's all. Just a half. Yeah. I'm not asking for much. I'm not going to ask for 6 or 7. I'm just going to ask for a half, something like that. And I think he'd be in pretty good shape. If you're just tuning in, we are bearing down on the end of this IPO. You got about 15 minutes left to get your bids into the Valspar Championship cash market. You could start shorting some golfers. You can get involved. This isn't your only chance because once this IPO ends, you'll be able to live trade and all that stuff. But this is generally an opportunity to get the guys that you like in your portfolio. If you're looking to get involved, it's Power is the code you're looking for. There's a link in the description. It gives you $100 deposit bonus. Joe, I keep refreshing the big board here, and I keep seeing very little movement. I mean, of the top 7 pre-ranked golfers, one of them is off of $1. That's Justin Rose at $1.25. Of the top 20 golfers, there's 3 guys that have moved off of it.
Yeah, there's some hooks in the water, but no real bites yet, except for a couple of those guys who I think were put in early, like Hadwin and Griffin. We will see it happen. There are plenty of sharks swimming around here that we know we're going to get some bites, and no one's going to let these guys go for sub $5 a share. But it feels, I can't disagree with you. It feels very late in the market to not see these guys move off that initial $1 per share price.
Yeah, we are usually rocking and rolling by this point. So
Yes.
there's going to be a lot of late movement on those guys. And I do wonder what's sustainable with the guys that are at the top of the board right now, right? So Adam Hadwin at 730, he's got 60 cents to his fair value. I don't know how sustainable that is. Ben Griffin already over his fair value. Wyndham
Yeah.
Clark, like, so there, this is kind of two sides of it. Usually we kind of see the big boys get out, or at least recently we've seen the big boys get out to a hot start and then everybody else catch up. This feels like we're going to have a bizarro market turning the opposite tides this week.
Yeah, it does. I'm just kind of thinking on the fly of sort of maybe reevaluating my strategy as I wasn't looking to those guys at the top. But I think sort of the flip side of that is if they stay relatively low priced, I think a lot of the activity late in this market is going to be centered around those guys and people looking to get shares and looking to bid and looking to monitor. And it may actually open things up for the other guys sitting at $1 a share that kind of maybe get forgotten about because all the attention is on those top 5 guys and getting the best price possible. These guys, like you're looking at Will Gordon there this week. I like Steven Yeager as well. Bobby Shells is there. So some people got some shares of him already, but there are plenty of players in this range who hold a good bit of equity in terms of a top 20 finish this week, which is about what you need to pay out based on where they're predicted to end up pricing wise.
Yeah, let's talk through some of these guys a little bit further down the board. 30th to 50th, we'll call it. These guys are fair value between that $4.50 and $5 tier. So you're kind of asking them to finish in a similar spot to where they're ranked right now. Excuse me. I'm a bit partial to guys like Sam Ryder. I think Brandon Wu's pretty interesting. Is there anybody that we should chat through here in this kind of area of the board?
Yeah, Sam Ryder was definitely one that I have favorited. I like Nick Hardy as well. I like Nick Hardy on a difficult course setup. I think that's been his most successful avenue in terms of some of his best finishes. I think that's what he prefers the best, which I've heard him mention before. I think we're going to get that this week. Look, with the rough being up, with it being brought in closer to the green, with some of the wind that we're projected to get here in Florida as well, we're going to see that the superintendent and the tournament committee has made an effort to sort of get back to this being one of the 5 most difficult stops on tour, and I think they're going to achieve that this week. And I like Nick Hardy on those type of setups.
I'm glad you mentioned the wind. I think general consensus right now is that Friday afternoon looks a little bit windier. Caveat being like we're wrong on this most of the time. But I do want to point out that, in other formats, we have to decide on Friday's weather Wednesday night. You don't have to do that here. Right. And we kind of saw this at the Players Championship too. You could sit around and see if that weather's coming in, or when they, stop play on Friday night and we know rain's coming overnight. Like, for those who are opportunistic, you don't have to make a lot of those weather decisions multiple days in advance.
You can absolutely make it on the fly. I can remember last week, I think it was Colin Morikawa that got out early on Thursday, and it was projected to be windy. But even the guys on PGA Tour Live were just talking about how there wasn't a breath of wind out there. It was ideal scoring conditions. He tore the place up, and then you could start to see it coming in as he got in on his back 9. So follow the tournament, watch it. You can make these live plays and decisions and adjustments to how you're strategizing your portfolio throughout the tournament. It's a good point.
Let us continue down into penny stock range. I'm on the second page of our big board here. We've got about 10 minutes to go until this IPO closes. We've got about 5 minutes until Joe goes and runs and does his thing. I want to point out one guy here for you, Joe. His name's Austin Smotherman. And then I want to get your thoughts here. So remember when Austin Smotherman kind of first came on the scene and he was gaining, a stroke per round with the ball striking, and it was looking really a lot like this, a lot of green in the ball striking categories. And you saw some good finishes. And then he kind of lost it. There might be enough evidence that he's getting back to that. He gains 3 strokes of the Players, 2.8 at Riviera, gets a much weaker field here. This could be a sneaky little guy.
That's a good visual there, and you can kind of see the mountains sort of
Yes.
starting to
Yeah.
climb a little bit, which I always love to see that sort of like easy to digest visual that you have on the website there. So that's nice to see for Smotherman. Kind of, I hadn't really thought about him, but definitely trending in the right direction. One guy you kind of talked me into him a little bit. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and I took shares of him last week. But Dylan Wu, man, uh,
Yeah.
this kid has been striping it. I had a lot of shares of him. I think 20 shares of him last week, and he did fantastic for me. He hung around and was just super consistent. I think all 4 days, that 35th place finish, paid out well per share. Let me see what I had. So I had Wu. Average, I got him at 309 per share, and he paid out 634. So more than double your money on
There you
Dylan
go.
Wu. He's been crushing it.
Yeah, and we talked a lot last week that not everybody is Colin Morikawa coming out of college, and you talk about a visual, right? We're getting that turn up, we're getting that up into the right curve. He's starting to figure things out. The metrics are not they're not going to blow your hair back, but they're really good, and he's just starting to get more consistent. Yeah, I like Dylan Wu a lot. Both Dylan Wu and Brandon Wu are viable options for this week.
Yeah, Brandon Wu's been like getting everything up. Where's Ryan? Ryan, is it Gerard or
I think it's
Gerard?
Gerard. Yeah. So
Is he on
he
the
was actually
second or
like
third page?
no, well, he was actually at like $4. If you were sorting by price, he was actually at like $4 earlier. Let me
Oh,
see
you're
where he's
right.
at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
64th free rank, already a dollar over his fair value. I see
Yeah,
that.
I see him at $4.28 right now. I probably need to refresh, but yeah, that he's catching some steam here, Joe. He's got I'll pull up his stat profile for you here, but the very small sample size that we have is pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of other young players like Cootie's back, coming off of a 14th at the Arnold Palmer. The Honda's a little bit deceiving because he was T63, but like there was a time late for or Friday afternoon when he was leading the Honda Classic. Obviously has where did he get his Corn Ferry wins? Were they in the? I felt like they were they in like coastal
One
Bermuda
was
type
in Maine,
courses?
I think.
Okay,
I can pull so one was okay, it was Maine and Panama.
got it.
Those could not be like two opposite places, by the way.
Wait, where's the other guy? Okay, where's Ludwig?
Oh, Ludwig Aberg.
Yeah, Ludwig, $2 per share. That was my boy. I had some of him at Arnold Palmer, 24th place finish. Back in the field on a sponsor's exemption this week. We'll see how he can do.
Yeah, 96% ROI for Ludwig Aberg at
Yeah.
Arnold Palmer. He's also technically he's only played 4 cash markets. He's been a winner in 2 of them. They go back to Bermuda though. They go back pretty far. Real quick before I get you out of here to go get your bids in, we're getting that movement a little bit here. JT up to $3.85. Jordan Spieth $3. J Rose 622. Adam Hadwood 7. So this is going to be a sprint to the finish line right now.
Absolutely, especially for the guys at the top. That's what I mean. A lot of attention is going to be played on who you think you can get at a good price point there. A lot of it, decisions are going to have to be made on the fly with a lot of these guys at the top. That's why I think it's always good to have a price point in mind now so that you don't get sort of opinion skewed, flustered in the last 90 seconds trying to make a bid. Know the price that you want to pay for a player and don't go above it.
All right, Joe, get out of here. Go get your bids in. See if you can beat your performance from last week.
You got it.
All right, I'll take you the rest of the way here. And we've got about 5 minutes to go in this IPO. It's going to get really hot and spicy at the top of the board. If you're not involved yet, use the code POWER, link in the description, get your deposit bonus, use it for the jock market, the cash markets, and use it for the prop side of things as well. And here we go. Justin Thomas, boom, $7 a share right now. So it's $7 a share. That's asking JT to finish 22nd or better. It's a lot of room to his fair value, which is $10.53 per share. That's 11th or better. So I don't know if the sentiment is strong enough for JT to get to that fair value. We're going to find out in the next 5 minutes or so if he can go up another $3.50. Matt Fitzpatrick, $4 per share, the second pre-ranked golfer. He has only been a winner once in his last 5 starts on the jock market. That T14 at API was a 31% return on your investment. He is currently $4 a share. At $4 a share, you're asking Matt Fitzpatrick, the reigning U.S. Open champion, to finish 42nd or better. His fair value, though, $9.68. That's asking him to finish 13th or better. We'll see where Fitzpatrick moves in the next couple of minutes. Here comes Jay Spieth. Jordan Spieth, $6.66. He's now within $3 of his fair value. Denny McCarthy lagging, which is a little bit of a surprise because Denny's got 3 big ROI wins in his last 5 starts. One of them was the Players. One of them was Riv. So we're talking about like elite level stuff here. And Denny McCarthy sits as the 4th pre-ranked golfer, very generous at $2 a share. I'm actually going to refresh this right now, make sure I have the most up-to-date numbers. Got about 4 or 5 minutes to go. We'll see as this thing continues to kick up where we had. I just have a feeling we're going to have a lot of, here we go. So Justin Thomas, $7.50. That's up 50 cents since the last refresh. Adam Hadwin right behind at $7.45 and Tommy Fleetwood at $7.25. $7 for Justin Rose. All these guys are within basically $1 of their fair value, at least those last 3. And Denny McCarthy jumps from $2 per share to $5.67. So let's talk about Denny. $5.67 right now is asking Denny to finish 30th or better. His fair value, though, is $8.27. That's asking him to finish 27th or better. So we'll see where he kind of fills in that gap over the course of the next couple of minutes. Justin Suh is 50 cents away about from his fair value at $5.75. Currently, fair value $6.24. Going down the board, here's a little bit of interesting one. Guys we haven't talked about, like Taylor Moore catching a little bit of steam here. Coming off of a 35th place finish of the Players' Championship. That's a 30% ROI. He's at $5.01. That's going to ask Taylor Moore to finish about, 34th or better. We continue down this list a little bit. Here comes Victor Perez, $4.44. He's already broken his fair value. Dylan Wu has already smashed his fair value. David Lingmer, 402 on a 458 fair value, 359% ROI last week, 294 at the Honda, 8% at Pebble Beach. This is your boom or bust kind of guy right here. Go back even further. 300% ROI at Mayakoba, 179 in Bermuda, 191 at the RSM Classic. David Lingmerth can be a big mover at times. Ludwig Aberg just got through his fair value. He's $4 a share right now, 9 cents over that. Gary Woodland, still plenty of wiggle room. He's $3.85. If he can putt at all, probably finds a way towards the top of the leaderboard. Let me refresh this. My clock says 8:57 p.m. Eastern time. We've got about 2 minutes or so until this IPO is going to close. Justin Thomas asserting himself on the top of the board, but he's not alone. Jordan Spieth is now the second most expensive golfer, just 10 cents behind his buddy Justin Thomas. Hadwin has not moved off 750. It's kind of been there for a while. The flurry of bids coming in around Adam Hadwin. We flip this around and look at the top 10 golfers. There is still a top 10 golfer that you can get right now, sub $4 per share. His name's Maverick McNeely, coming off the injury, played the Players' Championship last week, made the cut, didn't play particularly well, lost you 30% in ROI. See if he's healthy. We'll see if he can get back on track this week. The next cheapest top 10 golfer that you can get, looks like, it's still Denny. Denny and then Wyndham Clark, $6.46. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All 10 of the top 10 golfers are currently below their fair value right now. So that is what we're working with on this Valspar Championship Wednesday evening. I've got, 5:59 or so. So we are almost done here. 5:59, that's on my coast. 8:59 p.m. on the East Coast. Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas lead the way. We're seeing movement here from Sam Burns, now up to $7.10. We're seeing movement from Ben Griffin. Now, is that it?
Ring the bell, buddy. We've closed it down.
That's pretty early. That felt early.
It did. It did. There was a ton of movement late. Like guys jumping $1.25 very quickly.
Okay, well, hold on. We're going to let the dust settle and make sure I've got the final numbers. We're going to see what Joe got in his portfolio. Let us know in the chat what you got in your portfolio, but we are closed. I don't have the final numbers yet, but yeah, I mean, I assumed it was going to be pretty wild.
Yeah, I don't have it either, but there had to be a run on the guys at the top because I had some shares of McCarthy, I had shares of Spieth, I had shares of Fitzpatrick, and I didn't get any of them. So there had to be a late sort of push on those guys. I do have the fellas that I do have.
Yeah.
Only 5 guys in the portfolio this
Okay.
week. You ready
All
for
right.
them?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I do have, and I've got the final values here, so we're good to rock here. Okay, so Joe's
Perfect.
portfolio, 5 golfers for the Valspar. They are
Tommy Fleetwood, Davis Riley went below his fair value. I said that I was bullish. I took him. Gary Woodland, $4.12 for Gary Woodland. Very cheap, too cheap. Austin Smotherman, who you spoke about at 285, and then at 281, Luke Donald. That's going to round it out. Little nice, tight, compact little group here with plenty of room to add to it throughout the course of the week.
Davis Riley, Tommy Fleetwood, Gary Woodland, Austin Smotherman, Luke Donald, and plenty of room to grow. T. Stewart got Denny, Fleetwood, McNeely, Hadwin. Eddie got Ben Taylor, Dylan Wu, Max McGreevy. Oh, Wes Bryant. Probably should have mentioned him. Snoopaloop got Ben Martin. I like that. Ben On. It's an all Ben train. And then Garrick Higo, Denny and Gary for Brett. And then Brent got Webb Simpson, Will Gordon,
Zach
Johnson. Thank you. Mark Hubbard and Harry Higgs. Woo. Brent putting me to the test there. Very good stuff. Okay. Here's the big board. Here's the final pricing. So JT does do it. $9.44. He's the most expensive golfer. $1 shy of his fair value. So $9.44, Joe, 13th or better. What do you think?
I don't love where Justin Thomas is at right now. Not for me. What Spieth get to is at 925 or
825.
825, really?
Yeah,
yeah.
825. That's 17th or better.
Yeah, he went well below his fair value. I like that much more than I like the Thomas price there for me.
Fitzy 779. That is, like 18th or better. And his top 20, minus 120. That might be pretty good too if you're not worried about it. Fleetwood 775 and Rose 755. But like this is the tier that we were kind of referring to. Fleetwood, Rose, Hadwin. I mean, throw Sam Burns in there. Wyndham Clark is like that next tier that I think everybody really wanted to get some access to.
Yeah, without a doubt. Justin Rose right there as well. Justin Suh. Those are a lot of the guys that we expected to be popular, and it turns out that was a very popular range.
Davis Riley, as you mentioned, below his fair value. Victor Perez, well above. Brandon Wu, above. Here's our guy, Eric Cole, 25 cents over his fair value. Akshay, 421. Anything else stand out to you here?
No, this is going to be a fun event, though, man. A lot of these guys that are very exciting to play for. It'll be nice to have a little bit of a breather and learn some more about these little names and give the opportunity to flourish for some of these stories like Akshay and Eric Cole and some of these players that have such good stories. So it'll be fun. Valspar is always exciting. It's always a great viewing experience, and I'm glad that I got a little bit left in the bag actually to kind of monitor and continue to play this thing throughout, especially with the weather that could be coming in quick.
Yeah, time to get a little bit freaky. And Joe, if you want to get really freaky, we are under the impression that next week is Punta Cana for us.
Yeah, man. No March. The match play, the March Madness brackets are actually you crushed it this week again on the March Madness stuff, huh?
I hope so.
The video just cruises through views.
Oh, it's crazy that, yes. I mean, I wish there was that level of excitement for golf DFS previews, right? And like betting previews for the Valspar. But yes, the March Madness video is like the best video that I do every year. And I don't know anything about anything.
Any teams.
Yeah.
Yep, it's just numbers, baby. But it's just numbers next week for Corrales and Punta Cana. We're going to have players in the field. Each one of them is going to have a price. So we're going to talk about them, and we'll go through it Wednesday night once again.
Someone will win, for sure. Someone will win that event, and someone will get the full $25 per share payout. Joe and I will be back on Wednesday night, same time, same place next week, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, Rick Run Good YouTube channel. The code that you need one last time is POWER. Link in the description. Get your deposit bonus because we've only just begun. Live, it's open. Live trading's open. Go have at it. This tournament's going to start Thursday morning. Follow Joe on Twitter. It's at TourPicks. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been your Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Valspar Championship. Good luck.
Good luck.